Hello, it's Tom from BlackToad Studio, and welcome to this Army Showcase video. Obviously a few days ago you probably saw Dom put up his 83rd Warhost full Army video. I think he had a few other bits in there as well, obviously, but it's kind of similar to what I do with my army as well. So, at the moment in front of you what you see is my Relic Crusade of Templars, who have some support for some other factions, as you can see. So primarily this force is Black Templars as the main section of it. However, they are backed up with some Astra Militarum, some Inquisition, some Adeptus Mechanicus, and yeah, some various other locations as well. But we're going to go through a few bits now. So as you can see here, this is the full table of everything. I can just about fit it in by leaning back a bit. And this is currently on the table 15,074 points, give or take a few upgrades here and there. So yeah, pretty big. But I've been collecting these for quite a few years, and the idea behind my Templar army is that it started off as quite a small force, as you can imagine. Then as I developed it more, I wanted to make kind of dip into other factions alongside them. So I have a Crusade force of Templars called the Relic Crusade, which is my own thing I made up. And along their travels and conquests and campaigns, they have picked up a few supporting other armies, really. So first of all, Templars. So we'll go down to the middle here. We have our HQ selection here. I've got quite a few. I think the only thing that's not painted there fully is the flag on the Primaris Agent. Just not got round to doing that one yet. However, obviously we've got Helbrecht sitting down here. Did modify his sword because his original one broke off and it just would not stay on. So I actually took a Nemesis sword there just because it had a very similar length from a Terminator kit, just to make it look quite a bit better. Obviously we've got the Emperor's Champion sitting in there. We've also got Grimoldus over here with his Cenobite Servitors. And those Servitors are some of my very earliest paintwork, and I haven't dared change them. Mainly because I don't really want to be honest. It's quite nice having a reminder from some of your older stuff, and they're metal models, and I don't really want to strip them at the moment. Also then we have some sort of, the usual generic Space Marine stuff in here. So we've got a Gravas Captain there with his power sword, along with a couple of Primaris Lieutenants, which I picked up. I think that was one of the first box sets I did for Primaris, along with obviously the Ancient there. Then we have a couple of Jump HQs, which consist of a Smash Captain minus the shield, and also a Jump Chaplain. So yeah, so that's kind of my HQ selection I've got there. I've got some other HQs obviously in the other army selections. Obviously the Terminator Captain there as well, sorry. Actually I really like that model. That's one of my most favourite models. I do actually have the other limited edition one, which I need to do up at some point, but yeah, I haven't quite got around to that yet. Then we'll sort of go into some troops, I think. So obviously Templars love their Crusader Squads. I've got a few here, so I've got a couple of full-size 20-man ones here. So yeah, I've got the 10 Neophytes and the 10 Initiates, so one squad there and another one over here. And then basically to back them up we have a few other 10-man squads of standard Initiates. Mainly these ones have got bolters on them. I do normally use chainswords and bolt pistols when I'm playing. I just like to have a bit of variation now and then. And likewise over here, this is kind of like the overflow section where some of the leftovers from the squads, I do sometimes run them sort of as company commands, or company veterans occasionally, sort because I normally swap out the special weapons and things like that. And there's a couple of additional scouts there for if I need to run a couple of smaller squads. Because sometimes what I tend to do is split down these 10-man ones and put them into maybe 5s. But ideally I'd like to run them like this in big games because I think they look cool. Obviously we've got some intercessors over here, just because again I got them in one of the box sets and I actually really like them personally. I know some people for a Templar army sort of maybe disagree with having Primaris in them, but I'm fully on board with the Primaris for my guys, so I'm not too fussed about that. So yeah, that's pretty much the troop choices. I have tried to split these out a little bit, but I have noticed I've done a couple of little errors here. But so obviously fast attack wise, we do have an assault squad here. I'm planning on doubling that up actually because I really like these. I haven't really fielded them a lot yet on camera, but I tend to take them in games now that when I play because I enjoy how they actually play as well. And then obviously to the left then we also have a Vanguard veteran squad, kitted out with lots of storm shields, power weapons and various other things. Just because yeah, it's an expensive unit if you run it. I would probably say, kind of effectiveness-wise, they're very similar to the assault squad in many ways. Obviously, I know they've got power weapons, but yeah, I just don't see you get as much value out of them when playing with them personally. Also, we have 3 lying down suppressors there, which haven't quite managed to stay on their bases for the 400th time this morning. So I've just laid them down in the end. I'm going to actually perma-fix them at some point with either a magnet or something, just because I'm a bit sick and tired of them falling off. Other elite choices, what we've got a Stern Guard squad here. This is basically one with grav weapons. So we've got a grav pistol on the sergeant and basically combi gravs and 2 normal grav guns. And then likewise we have a kind of a mirror squad, but all using plasmas instead. Yeah, they don't tend to get run out that often, but you know, in the bigger games, definitely take them out. Also got some Reavers here. I personally really like Reavers. I think they're kind of the closest thing that you can get to a combat-based squad in Primaris at the moment. I like, you know, they get quite a lot of attacks, and if you can get them paired up in the right location with a chaplain and some other supporting units, they can be quite effective, especially in obviously our assault phases when we are in the assault doctrine. And then some further elites. We have some Terminators here. I'm missing one because it broke and it's currently gluing, and so I haven't put it back on the table just yet. So it's essentially got a 10-man normal Terminator squad. We have an assault cannon and a Cyclone missile launcher, and we have at the back here 5 Tartarus Terminators, because I do like my Terminators, and I thought I may as well get 5 of them just to sort of round out my collection, along with also the Assault squad here, Assault Terminator squad. I do need to get some Cataphracti at some point, but I haven't quite got round to that yet. They actually, the ones I intended for this army ended up in my Red Scorpion army. Elites wise, oh yes, well, Dreadnoughts. I do like my Dreadnoughts. I will be adding more to my collection at some point. We have 3 standard Dreadnoughts over here. One with a multi-melter and the other 2 with assault cannons. We also have a Venerable Dreadnought there, one of the old ones. I don't think you see them around very often nowadays. That's actually due a repaint at some point, because again, that's some of my very early painting, and as you can probably see by the video, maybe it's one when I used to use hard coat to coat the models after painting them. So yeah, that'd be a challenge to strip, to be fair. We've got a Relic Contemptor as one of my first Forge World items for my Templars, along with the Deradio there as well. It's a slightly older paint scheme than I run now. However, I've kept them the same because I do feel like they're relics, so they can sort of stay that older scheme. However, that does not quite true of the Leviathan here, which is I think one of the last things I bought Forge World-wise for my Templars. I went with the traditional kind of white and black and my take on red weapons as well. And then finally, Dreadnought-wise, we've got a couple of Ironclads here. I'd like to get them out in a game soon. Haven't played them for a while, must admit. Getting all these things out does make you realise some of the stuff you just don't use. Because I think it's just because you put them in boxes sometimes, you just don't get them out. Some more fast attack over here. We have Bike Squad, which I've added reasonably recently. I actually repainted these. They used to be gold and kind of gold and black, but I've put them back to a nice silver, black and red, which I actually really prefer. And I've put them on some of the newer bases, trying to keep the theme of the basing of my army. I typically do either these kind of sector imperial bases, or I use kind of granite colour, as you can see on the intercessors down here, in a very similar style, but just trying to keep it reasonably urban where I can. We've got 3 land speeders. One of them is missing its multi-melt at the moment, which I actually have no idea where it is. I'm assuming it's fallen off in a box somewhere. I do try to keep them all reasonably safe, but when you, I did buy some purpose-made storage for this, but unfortunately that space-wise ran out quite a while ago, so some of these have not been stored 100% how I would like to. I've got some heavy choice here, obviously, so we've got a couple of Predators. I haven't really got a lot of Predators, as you can see. I've just got the 2. I never really kind of bought into them in any big way. I just bought a couple because I fancied 2 in the army. Likewise, got some Hellblasters here. I would like to get some more of them. I do like them, but I typically try and play combat based where I can, so they don't really get a massive run out when I play games. We also have some Vindicators. We've got 2 standard Vindicators there, which I really like, and the Laser Destroyer Vindicator. My current plan is to get 2 more of these to give 3 Laser Destroyers. I really like the Laser Destroyers. I think they really pack a punch and they look quite cool as well. Obviously we've got some Land Raiders. Couldn't have a Templar army without a couple of Crusaders here. So we've got 2 Land Raider Crusaders. We've got one here, which is the full plastic, and then one at the back here, which I've left in the gold and kind of chipped metal look, because that's actually got metal on it as well. Those sponsons were a devil to assemble and keep on the model occasionally now and then. We also have a standard Land Raider pattern, which is just there for a bit of punch with the Glascans. And then finally over here we have a Relic Spartan, and I absolutely love this model. I bought this, I think it must have been midway last year or beginning of last year maybe, sorry. And really enjoyed putting it together and painting it. Very expensive to field though. I think it's about 500 odd points by the time you've got all the las cannons and stuff on it. So it doesn't see many games, although in some of our bigger games, definitely going to be bringing that out. Also, just to tag in there, we've got 5 drop pods, which I think haven't come out the box until this video. I think probably since I did the last video, because I haven't really used them at all, to be honest, which is fair enough, because they hadn't really been that useful up until possibly recently. So I might try a game soon where we try and utilise some of the drop pods, sort of give them a go. Got a few dedicated transports, so we've got a couple of Razorbacks with las cannons and 1 remaining Rhino. They actually all used to be Rhinos, but I flipped 2 of them to Razorbacks, but obviously I do have the top doors to convert them back into a Rhino if I need to, so I tend to run them as Razorbacks though. And then at the back over here we have a little flyers selection here. So we've got my Castor Assault Ram in the middle. I really love that model. I remember putting this together and having an absolute pain with the plastic when I bought it. In fact, so much that I think I had to send some parts back because some broke off during assembly. Well, actually, no, not during assembly. It was before I even got them out of the bag. I saw them in the bag and I actually got them to ship me out the spare parts. Forger had absolutely brilliant customer service, I might add, by the way, because they had it out, I think, within the week. Also got a couple of Storm Talons. 1 las cannons, 1 with the missile launchers. I do actually have a Storm Raven, which is a little bit worse for wear, hence why it's not on the table. So I'm only really showing off what I've painted and got fully assembled where I can. So yeah, that's kind of the Templar side of the force. We do have a knight here, which is in Templar colours, a paladin. I've actually got 2 more knights to add to this force, so I'm trying to make 3 so I can run them in as a kind of their own detachment when I get the chance to play them in a bigger game. And then swinging over to this side of the board, some supporting forces. So we have the assassins here, have 1 of each. Again, don't normally get these guys out, but I think I'll try and incorporate them into some games soon, just to try and use them. Along with a small Inquisition force here. So we've got Greyfax, obviously some of the Death Cult assassins, and I've actually forgotten what these were. Not acolytes. So it'll come to me in a minute. But yeah, they've got storm shields and power swords, and yeah, I've actually got a fair bit more Inquisition knocking about. However, some of it wasn't really ready to be put on a video because it's not that painted. I've also obviously got the other force I'm going to be adding to this Crusade is a Sisters of Battle force, which is the Order of the Ardent Shroud, who obviously hung with them during the Hell's Reach Crusade. So that's kind of my link to them being in this particular Crusade. And then we have an Astra Militarum force, which I play with Katachan rules because I like the fact that they've got higher strength, and the idea is that this is a regiment that the best of their regiment ends up joining the neophyte ranks of my Crusade, and as they follow them around and recruit people, they only recruit the strongest of their race, basically, to try and make sure that they can feed the Templars regiment with good recruits where they can. And yeah, and the idea behind this was primarily an artillery short range force. So obviously we've got a couple of Wyverns there, which are, I mean, I haven't had my guard out for a very long time. I probably should do, really. I kind of forgot what it looked like until I got it out today. Got a Manticore there. We also have a Chimera. We have a couple of heavy weapons squads there. And then I typically either run these as true, kind of just standard, soldier, guardsman squads. But I do like to run them as veterans as well when I can, so it becomes a bit more elite. I do have a hell of a lot of special weapons at the back here, just as that I normally pitter about in between all the squads. Also led by Lord Commissar, a couple of company commanders, and then at the back they have a bit of support from 3 Leman Russ battle tanks at the moment. We have an Eradicator in the middle with dual multi-melters, and then obviously we have the Exterminators on the left and right there with the autocannons and all the heavy bolters in the world. And at the back, just hovering in the background, we have a Valkyrie with the rocket pods on it. Again, sort of trying to get more shots off than necessarily high strength weaponry, and also heavy bolters. I think heavy bolters in the sponson sides or hanging out the doors, if I remember correctly, because I have made the doors slide still. And then heavy support for them. We have a Storm Lord and a Storm Sword. I built these 2 patterns up because I didn't really see them around that often, and I really like the short range weaponry because I mean they're all packing flamers on the side sponsons, so twin heavy flamers and a couple of las cannons for some long range. But obviously the 2 main cannons are quite short range in comparison to, say, like a Bane Blade or a Shadow Sword in comparison. But yeah, I do enjoy using them in the larger games. And then finally at the back, my Warhound Scout Titan, which I can't remember the last time I had it in an actual game. I bought it a long time ago, kind of like because I really fancied doing the model. I'm actually quite happy I bought the Lucius one, because I don't you see the Lucius pattern one anymore, because I think they stopped making it a little while ago. So yeah, it's a little bit of a different model for a Titan anyway. But yeah, definitely one of my favourite models in my collection, especially after its third repaint, because I tried so many different variations on a paint scheme that wasn't working, and I thought, you know what, I'm just going to try grey and red, and I was actually really happy with eventually how that all turned out. There's probably some more little bits I could do to it, but from my point of view, I'm happy with the way it looks for my army. So yeah. So that is my 15,000 and a bit points of kind of the Galera's Crusade force for my Templars. Yeah, if there's I mean, obviously I hope you enjoyed having a little look through it, and a little bit of my thought behind how I constructed it. Obviously, if you've got any questions about it, feel free to put them in the comments, and also if you've got any suggestions what I might add to it next, whether any of the forces that I've got here, I don't mind. I'm pretty open to adding to any of my forces. Obviously, I've got a Lead Sister battle to add to it soon, which I'll try and obviously do another video, but probably not too soon, because getting this all out is an absolute nightmare. Although fun, you know, it's nice to do it once in a while, just to get the dust off some of the models that you haven't had out for a while. Yeah, so I hope you all enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching. This is Tom from BlackToad Studio, and we'll see you soon.